There are two kinds of people in this world: those who break when life hits them, and those who bend but never break. The difference? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's mindset. Because when life tests you, and it will, your body may tire, your plans may fail, but your mindset will decide whether you rise or fall. So let's talk about what truly makes a person unbreakable. Pain. The word itself makes most people flinch. We spend our lives trying to avoid it, numb it, or run from it. But what if pain was never your enemy? What if it was your greatest teacher? One that shows up not to punish you, but to prepare you. The truth is, pain has shaped every strong person you admire. Every leader, every athlete, every visionary has walked through seasons of heartbreak, loss, and defeat. And yet, those very moments became the reason they rose higher. Pain is not there to break you. It's there to wake you up. It's life's way of saying, you were made for more than this. When everything is easy, you don't grow. Comfort teaches nothing. Growth requires friction, pressure, and resistance. The strongest muscles are built under tension, and the same is true for your mind and spirit. When life stretches you, it's building your capacity. When it hurts, it's because you're expanding into something greater. The seed doesn't become a tree without breaking through the soil, and you won't become who you're meant to be without breaking through your limits. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That simple shift turns pain from an enemy into an ally. Every painful experience carries a hidden lesson, but most people never discover it because they're too busy resisting it. They numb themselves with distractions, with excuses, with self-pity. But if you sit with your pain long enough, if you have the courage to face it instead of fleeing from it, it begins to speak. It teaches patience. It teaches humility. It teaches empathy for others who suffer. Most importantly, it teaches strength. The kind of strength that no book, no coach, no mentor can give you. Pain builds an inner toughness that nothing else can. You may not realize it while you're in it, but one day you look back and realize that the very thing that hurt you also healed you. Think about the moments in your life that changed you most. They weren't the easy ones. It was the heartbreak that made you wiser, the failure that made you hungry, the betrayal that taught you who to trust. Each scar carries a story, and every story holds a lesson. When you understand that, pain loses its power to destroy you. You stop seeing it as punishment and start recognizing it as preparation. The fire that burns you today is the same fire that will make you unstoppable tomorrow. You don't learn resilience in comfort. You learn it when your back is against the wall and quitting looks easier than continuing. And that's the beauty of pain. It forces transformation. It strips away your pride, your excuses, your illusions, until only your true self remains. It teaches you that strength isn't pretending everything is fine. It's choosing to keep going even when it's not. When life breaks you open, it's not the end, it's the beginning of becoming real. Pain exposes what's weak, so you can rebuild with what's strong. Every time you rise after being knocked down, you rise a little different, wiser, calmer, tougher. That's how pain turns ordinary people into extraordinary souls. So the next time you find yourself in pain, don't curse it, don't hide from it. Listen, feel, learn. Because that pain is shaping something powerful inside you. It's teaching you lessons no comfort ever could. It's building character that success alone could never sustain. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll see pain was never there to end you. It was there to elevate you. Every battle you face in life begins long before it happens in the real world. It begins in your mind. The thoughts you allow to live there determine how you show up in every challenge, every decision, every moment of pressure. Your mind is your battlefield, and if you lose there, you lose everywhere else. The world can hand you the best opportunities, the most resources, the perfect timing. But if your mindset is weak, none of it matters. You'll sabotage your own progress before anyone else does. Success doesn't start with talent, it starts with mental strength. Because the person who controls their mind controls their life. Your mind has two voices, one that pushes you forward and one that holds you back. One whispers, "You can do this," while the other screams, "You'll fail again." Every day, those voices go to war, and the one that wins is the one you feed. When you constantly feed your doubts, your fears, your insecurities, they grow stronger and louder. But when you feed your courage, your confidence, your vision, they begin to overpower the noise. You can't silence negative thoughts forever, but you can starve them. You can choose to focus your energy on what builds you instead of what breaks you. That's where the battle is won. When you choose belief over fear, truth over lies, and purpose over comfort. Most people underestimate how powerful the mind truly is. Your body will go where your mind tells it to go. Your emotions will follow where your thoughts lead. That means your outer world is a reflection of your inner one. If your thoughts are scattered, fearful, and chaotic, your life will mirror that chaos. But if your thoughts are clear, disciplined, and intentional, everything around you begins to align. That's why mindset work is not optional, it's foundational. You can't build a mansion on a weak foundation, and you can't build a great life with a weak mind. Your thoughts become your actions become your habits, and your habits shape your destiny. To win in your mind, you have to train it like a warrior trains for battle. You can't think strong once in a while and expect to win consistently. You have to practice it daily. Just like your muscles, your mental strength grows through repetition and resistance. Every time you face a challenge and choose to stay calm, you're building endurance. Every time you fail and choose to learn instead of quit, You're strengthening your resilience. Training your mind means guarding what you consume, what you read, what you watch, who you listen to. Because everything you let in becomes a weapon in that battlefield, either fighting for you or against you. The truth is, your mind doesn't care what you feed it. It will create reality from whatever it gets. If you feed it fear, you'll live in fear. If you feed it doubt, you'll hesitate at every opportunity. But if you feed it discipline, gratitude, and vision, you'll start to see possibility where others see problems. The mind doesn't just respond to the world, it creates the world you experience. So be intentional with your thoughts. Speak powerfully to yourself, even when you don't feel powerful. Because your mind listens to every word you say and it believes you. Speak victory even in defeat. Speak progress even in pain. That's how you turn mental chaos into clarity and confidence. Remember, nobody can fight this battle for you. People can inspire you, guide you, motivate you, but only you can decide which thoughts are allowed to live in your head. Every time you doubt yourself, you give fear another inch of ground. Every time you choose courage, you reclaim it. Winning in life isn't about never falling. It's about never letting your mind convince you to stay down. When you learn to command your thoughts, instead of obeying them, you stop being a victim of your emotions and start becoming the master of your destiny. That's when everything changes, because the moment you win in your mind, victory in the real world becomes inevitable. Motivation is a spark. It ignites quickly, burns bright, and fades fast. Discipline is the fire that never goes out. Motivation is what gets you excited to start, but discipline is what keeps you moving when excitement disappears. The truth is, motivation is emotional, but discipline is intentional. Anyone can feel inspired when things are easy, when energy is high, when life is flowing in their favor. But the unbreakable ones are those who show up when the feeling is gone. They understand that progress is not built on bursts of excitement. It's built on consistent action, even when every part of you wants to quit. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what needs to be done. Think about it, every goal you've ever had, fitness, career, relationships, depends on your ability to stay consistent, not on your ability to stay motivated. Motivation is like the wind. It changes direction. One day you're fired up, and the next day you're exhausted, uninspired, and full of excuses. Discipline is the anchor that holds you steady when the winds of emotion shift. It's the voice that says, do it anyway. The gym doesn't care how you feel. Your dreams don't care how tired you are. Success only responds to discipline, the daily choice to do what matters most, even when it's hard, uncomfortable, or boring. That's what separates those who wish for success from those who actually achieve it. Discipline is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows through resistance. Every time you choose to push through laziness, you're strengthening your willpower. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you're building self-respect. The small moments, the mornings when you wake up early, the nights when you work one more hour, the days when you refuse to procrastinate, those are the moments that forge mental toughness. You don't suddenly become disciplined one day. You train it into existence through repetition and sacrifice. It's built in silence, in private, when no one is watching. Because discipline isn't about impressing others. It's about keeping your word to yourself. People who rely only on motivation live in cycles of inconsistency. They start strong, lose steam, and then start over again, blaming their circumstances or their lack of inspiration. But disciplined people, they don't wait for the right mood or perfect timing. They create momentum by showing up every day, no matter what. They know that consistency compounds. One day of effort may not change your life, but 1,000 days of discipline will. When you choose discipline over motivation, you take control of your destiny. You no longer depend on external energy. You generate your own. That's how ordinary people achieve extraordinary things, not through luck, but through relentless consistency. Discipline also breeds freedom. It sounds ironic, but it's true. The more disciplined you become, the freer you are. Because when you master yourself, nothing controls you, not laziness, not distractions, not moods. Most people are slaves to their impulses. They eat when they're bored, quit when they're tired, and give up when things get hard. But disciplined people have power over themselves. They don't let emotions dictate their actions. They've trained their mind to obey their goals, not their feelings. And that self-control is the highest form of freedom there is. The ability to choose what's right over what's easy. There will be days when your energy is low, when the goal feels far away, when every step forward feels heavy. Those are the days that define you. That's when discipline speaks the loudest. It reminds you why you started. It keeps you grounded in your mission. It whispers, keep going, when motivation has already walked away. Discipline is the quiet force behind every great achievement, the invisible engine driving all lasting success. It's what makes you unbreakable. Because when the excitement fades, when the world goes silent, and when no one is watching, discipline is the only thing that will carry you forward. Failure is one of the most misunderstood parts of success. Most people see it as the end of the road, a sign that they weren't good enough or that their dreams weren't meant to be. But failure is not a wall, it's a mirror. It reflects back what you need to improve, what you need to let go of, and what you need to become. Every successful person you admire has failed. Some of them have failed more times than you can imagine. The difference is not that they never fell, it's that they refused to stay down. They used failure as feedback, as information, as fuel. What separates the weak from the strong is not the number of failures they've faced, but the strength of their response when they fall. When you fail, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to self-pity, excuses, and surrender. The other leads to resilience, wisdom, and growth. The choice you make in that moment determines everything that comes next. Failure doesn't define your worth, it reveals your will. Most people let failure break their identity. They start to believe they are the failure rather than understanding it was just an event, a moment in time. But those who rise know that failure is simply part of the process. Every great invention, every masterpiece, every breakthrough was built on the foundation of failure. The light bulb wasn't discovered in one attempt, it took thousands. Each failure wasn't a loss, it was a lesson that brought the inventor closer to success. The truth is, failure has no power to define you unless you give it permission to. It doesn't have the authority to label you a loser unless you accept that label. People who fear failure are often those who are desperate for approval. They equate mistakes with weakness. But failure is not weakness. It's evidence of courage. It means you dared to try something that others were too afraid to attempt. You stepped out when it was safer to stay still. You risked falling because you believed something greater was possible. That's not failure. That's bravery in motion. The only real failure in life is refusing to try. Everything else is feedback, data, and growth disguised as disappointment. Failure also exposes your character. When everything is working, it's easy to smile, easy to stay positive, easy to believe. But when the results don't match your efforts, when rejection hits hard, when nothing seems to work, that's when your true character shows up. Do you complain or do you course correct? Do you blame others or do you take responsibility? Your response to failure shapes who you become. Those who own their mistakes learn faster, recover stronger, and build deeper confidence. They stop being afraid of setbacks because they realize every failure makes them more prepared for what's next. They don't fail less than others, they just bounce back faster. If you study history, you'll find that almost every extraordinary person was once considered a failure. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. Steve Jobs was kicked out of the company he built. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. These people could have stopped there. They could have let those failures define them. But instead, they redefined failure itself. They saw it not as proof of defeat, but as a part of the path. They learned, adjusted, returned, and rewrote the story. The world only remembers their victories, but those victories were born from thousands of moments that didn't work out. What mattered most wasn't what happened to them, it was how they responded. So when you fail, and you will, because every ambitious person does, don't let that moment decide your story. Take a deep breath, stand back up, and ask, what is this trying to teach me? Every failure holds a hidden opportunity, but only for the one who's willing to look. Respond with curiosity instead of shame. Respond with determination instead of defeat. Because success is never a straight line, it's a series of rises and falls that shape you into someone capable of handling what you've been asking for. You can't control how many times life knocks you down, but you can always control how many times you rise again. The people you surround yourself with are either fueling your fire or suffocating it. Every conversation, every environment, every relationship you allow into your life is shaping your mindset in ways you may not even notice. You can't build a fire in a room full of smoke because smoke blurs your vision, chokes your energy, and dulls your focus. Fire, on the other hand, ignites you. It pushes you to rise higher, to demand more from yourself, to see possibilities where others see problems. That's why choosing the right people is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make. Your circle is either your greatest asset or your greatest liability. There's a simple truth. You become like the people you spend the most time with. If you spend time with complainers, you'll start complaining. If you're surrounded by doubters, you'll begin to doubt yourself. But if you spend time with people who dream big, who act bold, who refuse to settle, you'll start catching fire too. Energy is contagious. Passion is contagious. Drive is contagious. The question is, what kind of energy are you absorbing every day? Are you sitting in rooms where your potential is celebrated or in places where it's quietly suffocated? Sometimes the reason you're stuck isn't because you lack ability. It's because you're surrounded by the wrong atmosphere. Surrounding yourself with fire means surrounding yourself with people who challenge you. The ones who won't let you stay average. The ones who look you in the eye and say, you're capable of more. Fire doesn't comfort, it refines. It burns away your excuses and forces you to confront your limits. Most people avoid that kind of energy because it's uncomfortable. They prefer the company of people who agree with them, who keep them safe, who never challenge their opinions. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. Fire may sting, but it purifies, it sharpens your focus and strengthens your spirit. The people who truly love you are not the ones who make you feel comfortable. They're the ones who make you grow. Sometimes, to find your fire, you have to walk away from smoke. You have to let go of people who drain your energy, who gossip, who complain, who make excuses for why they're not succeeding. It doesn't mean you're better than them. It means you're choosing a higher standard for your life. If you spend too long in smoke, you start to believe the air is normal. You begin to think mediocrity is acceptable. But the moment you step into a room filled with driven, passionate people, you realize how much more is possible. The air feels clearer. The energy feels alive. You breathe differently. That's what happens when you surround yourself with fire. It reignites something inside you that you forgot was there. Fire people think differently. They talk about goals, ideas, growth, and purpose. They don't waste time tearing others down, they build. They don't complain about problems, they create solutions. When you're around them, you can't help but level up. They make you question your excuses, your comfort zones, your limits. They don't let you settle for good enough because they see the greatness you're capable of. Sometimes, all it takes is one conversation with the right person to remind you who you are. That's the power of fire. It spreads. And when your inner flame connects with theirs, it becomes unstoppable. Take a moment and look at your circle. Who in your life is truly pushing you forward? Who's reminding you of your vision when you forget it? And who's pulling you back into habits that no longer serve you? Be honest, because your environment is stronger than your willpower. Even the most disciplined person will struggle to stay focused in a toxic atmosphere. But when you're surrounded by fire, by people who are chasing growth, discipline, and purpose, you don't have to force motivation, you feel it naturally. You rise to the level of your surroundings. That's why the path to becoming unbreakable isn't just about self-mastery. It's also about circle mastery. Choose your fire carefully because it will determine how brightly you burn. There comes a point in every dreamer's journey where logic runs out, where facts, statistics, and probabilities all point to one conclusion. It's impossible. That's the moment that separates the average from the extraordinary. Because while logic says, stop, belief says, keep going. To believe beyond logic means to see the invisible, to trust in something no one else can see, and to walk by faith when evidence hasn't caught up yet. The greatest achievements in history were born from people who dared to believe beyond what made sense. They weren't reckless, they were relentless. They refused to let logic dictate what their heart knew was possible. Logic can explain what exists, but belief creates what doesn't. Yet, logic is the language of the mind, belief is the language of the soul. Logic analyzes what is, belief envisions what can be. If you live by logic alone, you'll only go as far as your current understanding allows. You'll wait for proof before acting, for certainty before starting, for signs before committing. But belief works differently. It moves first. It acts without having all the answers. It builds the bridge while crossing it. Belief doesn't ask, what if I fail? It asks, what if I succeed? The people who achieve the impossible aren't the ones with perfect plans. They're the ones who take imperfect steps with unwavering faith. Because when you move with belief, doors appear where there were only walls. Most people let logic talk them out of their destiny. They overthink, overanalyze, and underestimate themselves until they're paralyzed by doubt. But belief breaks that paralysis. It gives you the courage to take one more step when everyone else has stopped. Belief whispers, keep going, when logic screams, give up. Think about it. Every breakthrough began as a crazy idea. Flying was once impossible. Electricity was once fantasy. The internet, medicine, space travel, none of it made sense until someone believed beyond what was logical. Those dreamers were ridiculed, dismissed, and doubted. Yet they kept believing, not because it was easy, but because their vision burned brighter than their fear. Believing beyond logic doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to be limited by it. It means understanding that reality is shaped by people who dared to believe something different. You can't create change by staying confined within the boundaries of what's reasonable. Logic will always give you reasons to quit. Too risky, too late, too hard, too unlikely. But belief gives you reasons to try. It reminds you that every expert was once a beginner, every champion once a contender, every visionary once a doubter who decided to believe anyway. Belief is the power to act as if success is inevitable, even when you can't yet see how it will happen. There will be moments when your belief is tested, when nothing works, when the world goes silent, when doubt becomes louder than hope. That's when believing beyond logic becomes hardest and also most necessary. Anyone can believe when things are easy, but it takes unshakable faith to believe when everything looks impossible. That's the point where most people quit. But those who keep going are the ones who create miracles. Because belief has a strange power, it bends reality over time. When you keep showing up, working, and trusting despite the odds, the impossible slowly starts to shift in your favor. The world begins to move for those who refuse to stop believing. Belief beyond logic is what gives birth to greatness. It's the energy that fuels persistence, the light that cuts through uncertainty, the fire that keeps burning when logic says the fuel is gone. It's what turns small ideas into movements and ordinary people into legends. To believe beyond logic is to live beyond limitation. To understand that your dreams aren't measured by what's probable, but by what's possible. It's choosing to walk into the unknown with conviction in your heart, even when your mind trembles with doubt, because in the end, logic may open doors, but belief builds entire worlds. An unbreakable mindset isn't built overnight. It's forged in battles most people avoid. You don't need to be the smartest, the fastest, or the strongest. You just need to be the one who refuses to give up. So the next time life pushes you to your knees, don't stay there. Rise. Because the world doesn't need more comfortable people. It needs more unbreakable ones.